All right, good morning. My name is Jeff Orrock here at the National Weather Service office in Wakefield. Due to the threats, we're going to continue to do our briefings here for the next couple of days, given the severe weather threat, the heat threat, and also the flood threat. So we're going to be stepping through all of those here in this morning's briefing. We'll come back to this image talking about the severe weather threat today across a large portion of central and northern Virginia. As far as what's changed since some of our earlier briefings, we do have a heat advisory in effect for the whole area, which we'll talk about. And the chance for severe weather and even excessive heavy rainfall and flooding has increased since some of our earlier briefings. So we'll go ahead and get right into it. Kind of leading off with what's going on right now. We do have a heat advisory in effect for really much of the area, except for the far northwest Piedmont, where maybe the dew points, the humidity won't be quite as bad. But we're expecting, 105 to maybe about 109 degrees or so, really across a large portion of the area. And so we have that heat advisory in effect for today, really until about this evening. And if you just look at the current satellite image, it really is pretty much full on sun out there, just a few little clouds. But for the most part, it's full on sun across the entire mid-Atlantic. With the southerly flow, the south winds increasing, we really have pumped up the dew points and the humidity. And so we're really going to start climbing those heat indices pretty good today with a lot of sunshine. We really do not expect many clouds at all until very, very late in the day. So pretty much going to be a very, very, very hot day. These were the heat indices as of maybe about even an hour ago. So this was probably right around, I'd say 10 o'clock. The 11 o'clock ones haven't quite updated yet. And so you were already seeing a fair amount of heat indices, right around 100 to the upper 90s. I'd say probably by 11 o'clock now, we probably have many more heat indices starting to push. In fact, I think it just did update. You're starting to see more 101s starting to pop up in here to around 100. So going to be a very, very, very hot day. Even up here, I think in parts of Maryland, let's see if it updates. Yeah, 100 here in Salisbury. So, and that's as of now. So going to be a really hot day, going to have a prolonged period here of some pretty hot heat indices, even down getting close to 100 to 101 in parts of northeast North Carolina as of 11 o'clock this morning. So where we're headed, some pretty widespread heat indices of, I'd say, 106 to probably even getting up to maybe 109, 110 in a few places here, especially as you get further east towards the Bay and Southeast Virginia and down here towards Edenton, Elizabeth City. Wouldn't be shocked to see a lot of 108 to maybe even a few 110 degree readings, getting close to that 110 today. It really is focused on today, but it's going to be hot, really from now all the way through about 8 o'clock tonight. It's going to take a while for these temperatures to come down, and we're not going to get much cloud cover. May get a little cloud cover in the far north as showers and storms develop maybe after about 6 o'clock this evening, but really don't expect many clouds at all until really, really late this evening, and by then it's too late to give us any kind of relief. Looking at the heat risk and how it looks for the next several days, here you see Tuesday and really today and this afternoon really being the highest risk for the heat. You see the risk tomorrow, while it's not zero, it's still a little bit elevated, but it's more limited tomorrow, and then not as much heat there on Thursday. So looking at those daily heat indices, today really is the hot day with those temperatures of 105 to 109. Tomorrow is still not cool by any means, but there's going to be a lot more cloud cover. There's going to be more showers around. So it's going to feel muggy. It may feel miserable, but the heat indices look like they're going to be running probably in the upper 90s to maybe right around 100. Could be low 100s some places, depending on how much sun you see. But tomorrow is going to be a much cloudier day. It should be. And those heat indices should be a little bit lower, even though it's maybe still be pretty muggy. And then after that, you kind of see just more normal heat with those heat indices in the afternoon kind of generally being in the 90s, maybe the mid to upper 90s, depending on where you are, more typical for summertime. So today is really the day we're worried about for the heat with the heat advisory. With tomorrow, still going to feel maybe kind of miserable. I'm still going to have some pretty warm temperatures, but probably not hitting 105 as far as the heat index is concerned on Wednesday. So that takes us kind of into the risk of severe weather. The next kind of story, which kind of gets more into later this late afternoon and this evening, and maybe a little bit even into tomorrow. And I'm just going to do the big picture across the country here. You look at the radar right now, and you really don't see anything at all. So there's no activity going on anywhere in the mid-Atlantic. You saw a lot of clear skies out there. There is a cold front sitting way up to our north. You could also see that on satellite, but it runs up here from Pennsylvania all the way down here and eventually kind of connect these areas of precip together. That's kind of where the cold front is. And the cold front's really never going to make it down here. We're just stuck with this kind of summertime hot, humid pattern with some upper level waves of energy that are kicking off some storms for us. So nothing in the area right now, but we are expecting storms to develop later today. So we do have that level 2 slight risk of severe storms today. Tomorrow is a marginal risk. We'll talk a little bit about tomorrow as well as on Thursday. So you notice it does stay pretty active. But today does look like it's going to be the best threat of severe storms, and it does look like it's pretty late in the day. Probably not going to start to get going up here in the northwest Piedmont until after about 4 o'clock or so. And then the showers and storms as they develop, they're going to push kind of from the north-northwest to the south-southeast and move around maybe 20, 25 miles an hour. The storm should be strongest in the areas that are highlighted in yellow, and that's because it's developing during kind of the tail end of the heat of the day. So, at 4 p.m. to midnight, things are pretty heated up. We're going to have some good energy in the atmosphere. So may be able to get some damaging winds in this area in yellow. That is the main threat here, that 45 to 60 mile per hour kind of downburst winds. Being so hot, there's no threat of hail, no threat of tornadoes. There is some flooding potential, which we'll talk about here in a second. And the storms do continue to move more to the southeast. It's just the severe threat should decrease as those storms push down towards Hampton Roads. We still think we'll see storms late tonight down here, as well as on the eastern shore. It's just the severity should decrease. I think where we may see the damaging wind, the best areas here are in the yellow. And again, that is kind of our primary threat. You kind of see here again the threat, no tornado threat, no hail threat, just too hot. But the fact that it is hot, there's a little bit of mid-level dry air in the atmosphere. We could start to see some pretty good downburst winds, again, especially in the area you see highlighted here in yellow. And again, timing this out, if you kind of look at some of the simulated reflectivity here, this is kind of a model suggesting how it might play out. Somewhere around maybe between 4 and 6, 4 and 7, it starts trying to develop here, kind of just northwest of Richmond, out towards Louisa, maybe east of Charlottesville. So it kind of starts to pop up on the east side of the mountains. Could see a few little stray showers and storms here across southeast Virginia, northeast, in the eastern shore. It's hard to say. Some of the models kind of show a few little widely scattered things popping up down here, where the main show is really more up here coming off the Piedmont. And then you start to see the area does kind of increase and push east here. I'd say by about 7 to 8 o'clock, maybe 7 to 9. It's getting into the Richmond area and extends on up into a Maryland Eastern Shore. You are starting to see a little more development here also across the southeast, where you might start to see some bigger storms trying to pop up ahead of this little line that's pushing in from the northwest. Might start to see a few little more areas of showers and storms popping up here, even east and southeast of Richmond, where I still think the main show in the evening is really going to be kind of, Richmond, back to Farmville north, and then getting up into parts of, Caroline County and up towards Dorchester County. And that's where I think we're going to see most of the main storms. You do notice that later in the evening, as you get, say, let's past 8, 9 o'clock until about midnight, all these showers and storms, they do weaken, but they start to cluster here in Hampton Roads, and they start to move into southeast Virginia, the southern part of Eastern Shore, and even northeast North Carolina may get in on this a little bit. So eventually this kind of thing starts out as a kind of nice little line of little showers and storms moving east and southeast at 25. It's eventually going to lay out some wind. We're going to see more development here starting to go across Hampton Roads through the evening hours. And eventually kind of becomes this big blob area of potentially heavy rain later tonight across Hampton Roads. Not severe, but we'll come back to this because there could be some flood potential here across Hampton Roads later tonight, where the flood potential, from Richmond north and west is really going to be earlier this evening. So we're going to talk about it here a little bit more in a minute. So this kind of just shows you kind of frame by frame here every 3 hours what the chance of precipitation is. So you can see today, better chances this afternoon are mainly going to be from Richmond north and west, out towards Farmville, up towards Caroline, maybe back to Louisa. Obviously the northern neck, that's our better chances. Also the better chances for thunderstorms. Tomorrow, though, you do notice actually we have better chances of rainfall and heavy rainfall for a longer period of time and for a much larger area. Really, everybody gets in on this tomorrow, as far as the potential for heavy rain and even some thunderstorms. See, that thunderstorm potential kind of really starts to go up there in the afternoon. So even though today may be the more severe storms potentially with damaging winds, there actually could be more coverage of showers and storms tomorrow. Tomorrow's threat's not really severe weather, it's more heavy rainfall. But again, you do see that chance of precipitation being much higher for everybody tomorrow. And even again on Thursday afternoon, we have some pretty good chances here of showers and storms. Also notice that tomorrow, the chance of storms today really doesn't get going until after about, 4 or 5 o'clock. But if you notice, a lot of places tomorrow, we have, really high chances of precipitation, 60 to 80%, already by noon tomorrow. So stuff should start a little earlier tomorrow, and then last a little bit longer. So really keen on that potential for more flooding and heavy rainfall tomorrow, and maybe some severe weather today. So what I'll do is I'm going to stop here, and I'll show you just kind of a simulation of, this is the HRRR model, kind of show you how the storms might play out for today. And so you kind of see here late in the day, this is actually 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Stuff is just starting to maybe try to develop over the mountains. You'll see it kind of start to increase in coverage as we push into the evening. So this may be about, 5 o'clock or so, 5 or 6 o'clock. You're starting to see that increase in coverage kind of coming off the Piedmont. Maybe get a few pockets here, some damaging winds, and it continues to kind of increase here as you push through about 8 o'clock this evening, and eventually it quickly jumps and increases in coverage. This is getting about maybe 10 o'clock this evening. It starts to maybe expand and jump down towards the bay. So we're going to have to watch out for this. It does start late in the day. And it kind of goes from very little activity to quite a bit of activity as the afternoon, as the evening progresses. So we'll have to watch out for this. Some of these could still be producing some pretty strong wind, especially across the bay, all of our bay counties, the peninsulas, eastern shore. We're going to have to watch out for maybe some potential damaging winds here as this continues to kind of develop and expand in area. And then you'll notice overnight, it kind of starts to kind of focus and kind of congeal on Hampton Roads. Right in here, it kind of redevelops, and this is now just heavy rain. It's not severe weather. This is about 2 to 3 in the morning, and so it's now starting to just focus in like a big blob of heavy rain that gets stuck over Hampton Roads. So we're going to have to watch out for this. This is a new trend in the models where you have maybe the blossoming storms with severe potential earlier in the evening, way up here towards Richmond and the peninsulas. And it kind of jumps to the eastern shore, but then it redevelops here overnight and kind of sits over Hampton Roads. And so we're gonna have to keep an eye on this, because this could start to result in some flash flooding down here in Hampton Roads, really during the overnight hours. By the time we get to morning rush hour tomorrow, it does look like things are kind of winding down. This is about, right here is about 7 o'clock. So there could still be a few little showers and storms around. But for the most part, I think it's starting to kind of decrease. And then we get kind of a break in the precipitation here for a little while before things redevelop there on Wednesday. So that gets us into some of this heavy rain and flooding potential. The Weather Prediction Center, they have that slight risk here of potential heavy rain and flooding, mainly for late this evening and early part of tonight. Really from Petersburg north back to Louisa. It even has the Maryland Eastern Shore in it. We are about to expand this area of slight risk. I kind of made another little circle here that kind of centers in on Hampton Roads, because the heavy rainfall threat is going to shift from up here this evening and early tonight down into Southeast Virginia and Hampton Roads, really for, I'd say, overnight tonight, late tonight, probably, let's say, 11 p.m. to about, let's say, even 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. We're going to have to watch out for this area down here. So I've kind of highlighted this area in yellow, just using a little quick little pencil tool. The Weather Prediction Center is going to be extending the slight risk further to the southeast with their next update, to kind of watch out for that redevelopment late tonight in Hampton Roads. So really, really watch out for that. Notice tomorrow, just about everybody is in the risk for a higher risk, a slight risk of heavy rainfall. So the risk for, a longer period of heavy rain lasts throughout the day tomorrow. And I'd say it even comes down. I would probably even bring it on down to Norfolk and Virginia Beach here. So, this risk tomorrow is a little bit better. And what I'll show you here is kind of another simulated reflectivity for getting more into tomorrow. So let's just kind of jump into tomorrow. You kind of see we get this break in the precipitation tonight, and then things start to blossom earlier. So this is, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon tomorrow, and then boom, it just kind of explodes. So we're gonna have to watch out for this. This is showing you about maybe 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and then 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So this is a lot of rain, and this is a lot of heavy rain. You could definitely tell, compared to today, there's a lot more coverage of showers and storms tomorrow. Probably not severe, but maybe some real torrential downpours. And you notice they're not moving very fast, and they just kind of drag across the area. So we're going to have to kind of watch out for this. And even if you look at the heavy rainfall potential in the HRRR model. So this is the probability of seeing 1 inch and 3 inches of rain. And I don't know if I have the 12Z run yet. Yeah, it's not quite in all the way. So we'll go back and look at the 0Z run. So this is a probability of 1 to 3 inches of rain. And so for today, again, this afternoon, you see it really kind of blossoming right there, boom, over Northern Virginia, coming down towards Richmond, a little here over North Carolina. It does kind of eventually consolidate right here. It starts to consolidate down towards Hampton Roads later tonight. So we're going to have to kind of watch this. He's got a little bit of a bullseye showing at least a good probability of an inch of rain here down over across Hampton Roads. And so we're going to have to watch that tonight. We get a break in the precipitation tomorrow. And then as this stuff develops, this is tomorrow afternoon about 2, but then you see here by about 4 or 5 o'clock, it just really starts to expand. And the probabilities for heavy rainfall, really you're starting to see pretty good probabilities of 3 inches of rainfall in just a matter of about, let's say, 3 hours. So a lot of heavy rainfall potential starts to set up tomorrow. And this continues into tomorrow evening, much more widespread too. You kind of see that there. So that's our main concern, is having to watch this for tomorrow, potential for some pretty good flash flooding across the region. We may end up increasing to a moderate risk of flash flooding for tomorrow. We're talking about that right now with the Weather Prediction Center, trying to figure out where that higher risk for moderate might be for tomorrow. So we'll see. Even though we're going to see some rain on Thursday, probably a little bit less risk of the flooding, even though there will still be a marginal risk. I'd say really tonight and then especially tomorrow is what we're going to have to watch out for. This is just showing you some of the rainfall totals. We're going to have to revise this with some of the model trends, but a widespread 2 to 3 inches of rain with probably in a little area here of 3 to 4 inches of rain. I will say, I think we're going to have to extend this 2 to 3 inches more down into Hampton Roads now with some of the model trends. So I think later updates, you're going to see more of this, anywhere from 1 to 3 inches of rain coming all the way down here into Norfolk and probably covering all of Eastern Shore. So that's kind of been the model trend here in the last run, is to kind of start to show a little bit of a focus down here and then kind of pull this heavier rainfall, extend it from up here and probably pull it on down, to parts of, Surrey, Isle of Wight, coming on down the peninsula through Newport News and Hampton, and even getting into parts of the low south side of Hampton Roads. So I think we're going to see these higher totals extending southeast and kind of covering Hampton Roads as well. So stay tuned. Now, we did put a statement in here. We do want to be really clear because this is convective rainfall. It's bursts of heavy rainfall from thunderstorms both today and especially tomorrow. So, these are kind of your average rainfall totals. If you're in a place, and it could be in any of the cities, it could be your house. If you're hit by multiple storms, and you're getting rounds of storms over the next couple of days, we wouldn't be shocked to see some folks pick up 4 to 7 inches of rain over the course of the next 2 days, if it just happens to be in the right or wrong place, however you want to think about it. But some places, yeah, we could see some pretty high rainfall totals between today and by the end of the day, tomorrow and tomorrow night, as this stuff just keeps redeveloping. So maybe 4 to 7 inches of rain, and widespread, the average might be about 2 to 3. So we're thinking widespread 2 to 3 inches of rain, maybe even 3 to 4 on average. Some people might be able to get up to 7 inches of rain or more if they just get hit by thunderstorms over and over for the next couple of days. So flash flooding is going to be a real potential and something we're going to have to watch out as these showers and storms just keep developing. And so, the main threat for the rain really is today through, I'd say, Wednesday, a little bit into Thursday, but today through Wednesday is really where we're going to see the bulk of this precipitation. And notice it's not just us. This extends all the way down to North Carolina as well. So it's a pretty sizable system that's setting up for us to bring a lot of heavy rainfall. And this is just the average rainfall. Like I said, the peak amounts will be much higher than this. And you do see less rain, still rain chances as we get into Friday through the weekend, but you see the rainfall totals are much lower. So the real focus is today and especially through tomorrow. And so again, this is kind of just showing you that daily high-low. And again, you see the chances of rain today and this evening, but really better for tomorrow is getting into parts of Wednesday and Thursday, and lower chances as we get into next week. As far as the rip currents along the beaches are concerned, just shifting gears a little bit into the marine real quick, we do have a moderate threat of rip currents today. The rip current threat should be decreasing through the day. It's kind of a leftover moderate threat with those breaking waves around maybe 3 feet or so. But it does look like the threat is going to decrease as the day goes on. And then tomorrow does look like we'll see probably a lower threat or a low threat of rip currents that will continue into Thursday. So beaches should be doing pretty good. On the marine side of the house, we're borderline small craft conditions today. Kind of see the bay lighting up here a little bit orange for today, and even a little bit into early tomorrow with the south winds, southwest winds. Maybe gusting up to around 20 knots. Could be see some gusts up to maybe 25 way out here on the water, but it's real marginal. We do not have small craft advisories up right now. We don't expect a lot of wind gusts to 20 knots or 25 knots, but could be a little period there where it's briefly breezy. We can talk about that. And then, later in this week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not as much of a wind threat. And so this is kind of some of the peak winds. We might see a peak wind gust here, 22 knots, mainly going to be later today across the bay. And over the waters, you might see a peak wind gust there, maybe 25 to 27 knots. But it's not going to last too long. Kind of see this period here this afternoon with the south winds maybe gusting up to about maybe 20, 24 knots. A little offshore, maybe getting up closer to 26 knots, generally out of the south. And then the winds decreased early tomorrow morning, pick up a little bit tomorrow afternoon, but not as strong as today. And Thursday, just breezy, but nothing too bad. And again, this is kind of showing just your sustained winds compared to your wind gusts. But it's all pretty much a south to southwest wind. You don't really see the wind direction changing at all. Just, some breezy in the afternoons today into this evening, and a little bit breezy again tomorrow afternoon. But just below small craft conditions for today. And of course, wave heights with the southwest wind generally running about 2 to 3 feet out there. A little bit higher seas as you push offshore with the wind, but near shore you're going to have maybe 2 to 3, getting up maybe to 4 as you get a little bit further out there. Probably a little bit higher coming out of Ocean City as just southwest winds kind of pushing some pretty good waves kind of along the beaches there, and the bay probably around 2 to 3 feet on average with those south winds. Good news, there's no tropical activity going on over the next 7 days, so that's good news. And we'll issue another email briefing probably maybe later this afternoon. We'll definitely have one out by about 9:30 in the morning on Wednesday. And we will do another live briefing tomorrow with that risk of heavy rainfall and the flooding. We will do another live briefing on Wednesday at 11 a.m.